When I was 10 years old, I found a Pokemon card that didn't exist. Not a fake, not a misprint. A card that wasn't supposed to be real. And when I figured out what it could do, I wished I'd never touched it. Because some Pokemon aren't meant to be caught. They're meant to stay trapped. And the one I released, it's still hunting me. My name is Alex. And like millions of kids in the late 2000s, I was obsessed with Pokemon. I'm talking binders full of holographic cards, a Game Boy permanently attached to my hands, and every piece of merchandise my parents would tolerate. But my real passion? Card collecting. I wasn't just a casual collector. I studied card values, memorized set lists, knew which packs had the best pull rates. My friends and I would trade during lunch, battle after school, and spend every allowance dollar on booster packs, chasing that high of pulling something rare. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found at that garage sale. The card that changed everything. It was a Saturday morning in July. My mom dragged me to a neighborhood-wide garage sale. I was bored until I spotted a cardboard box at the end of one driveway with "free" written on it in Sharpie. Inside was the usual trash. Old VHS tapes, broken toys, scratched CDs. But underneath everything else, I found a small tin box. It was rusty, dented, and had this weird symbol etched into the lid. Not a Pokemon logo. Not anything I recognized. Just this sigil. I opened it. Inside was a single Pokemon card, but it was wrong. Everything about it screamed wrong. The cardstock was thicker than normal, almost like leather. The holographic pattern didn't shimmer. It pulsed, like it was breathing. And the Pokemon itself? I'd never seen it before. It looked like a corrupted version of Gengar. Same basic shape, but its body was pitch black with glowing white eyes that seemed to follow you. Its mouth was open way too wide, showing rows of needle-like teeth. And its hands were elongated with claws that looked more like surgical instruments. The card name was printed in a font I didn't recognize. Duskterror. No evolution stage, no HP, no attacks listed. Just one line of text at the bottom. Speak its name 3 times at midnight, and it will answer your call. I should have put it back, but I was 10, and it was the coolest, creepiest thing I'd ever seen. So I took it. For the first week, I kept the card hidden. I didn't show my friends. Didn't tell my parents. Something about it felt private, like it was meant only for me. But curiosity got the better of me. I kept reading that line over and over. What did that even mean? So on Friday the 13th, I waited until my parents went to bed. At midnight, I sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor with the card in front of me. I whispered, "Duskterror." Nothing. Louder. "Duskterror." Still nothing. Then, one more time, almost shouting, "Duskterror!" The card started glowing, not the holographic shimmer you'd expect. This was a deep, sickly purple light that filled my entire room. The air got cold. I could see my breath, and then I heard it. A voice, low, guttural, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You called?" I spun around, and there it was. Standing in the corner of my room was Duskterror, not a hologram, not a hallucination. A real physical creature. It was hunched over because my ceiling was too low, its claws scraping against the walls. Those glowing white eyes locked onto me, and its mouth stretched into a smile that made my stomach drop. "You summoned me, trainer," it hissed. "What is your command?" I couldn't speak, couldn't move. I just stared. It tilted its head. "No command." "Then I am free." And then it vanished. Like someone had edited it out of reality. I didn't sleep that night, because Duskterror didn't leave. At first, it was small things. Shadows moving. The feeling of being watched. My Pokemon cards scattered across the floor every morning. Then it escalated. I'd wake up to find scratch marks on my walls. Deep gouges, like something with claws had been pacing all night. My Game Boy would turn on by itself, showing Duskterror's face staring back at me. One night I woke up to find it standing at the foot of my bed. Just standing there, watching, its eyes glowing in the darkness. I pulled the covers over my head and prayed it would go away. When I finally looked again, it was gone. But written on my bedroom mirror in frost were 3 words. "You belong to me." I tried everything. I ripped up the card. It reassembled itself. I burned it. It appeared in my backpack the next day. I threw it into a lake. It was on my nightstand that night, still dry. It was bonded to me. And the more I tried to get rid of it, the angrier it became. One night it finally spoke to me again. I was lying in bed when I felt its breath on my neck. Cold. Rotten. "You wanted a Pokemon, didn't you?" it whispered. "You wanted something rare, something no one else had. Well, congratulations, trainer. You caught me, and now, "I've caught you." Its claws wrapped around my wrist. I screamed. My parents burst into the room, but by the time they turned on the lights, it was gone. All they saw were the scratches on my arm. 4 deep, bleeding lines. They thought I'd hurt myself. They made me see a therapist, put me on medication, but I knew the truth. Duskterror was real, and it wasn't going to let me go. I became obsessed with finding answers. I scoured the internet, old Pokemon forums, urban legend sites, anything that might explain what I'd unleashed. And then I found it. A thread on an obscure message board from 2003. The post was titled, "The Lost Pokemon Cards." According to the post, in the late 90s, bootleg card manufacturers in Eastern Europe created a series of cursed Pokemon cards as a twisted art project. They weren't meant to be sold. They were meant to be traps. Each card was bound to a real entity, something that existed in the space between imagination and reality, and the only way to summon it was to speak its name 3 times at midnight. The post ended with a warning. If you ever find one of these cards, do not use it. Once summoned, they can't be returned. They're free. Forever. There was one comment below, left by a user named Card Collector 1997. "I found one. I summoned it. It's been following me for 6 years. I can't escape it. If you're reading this and you have one, destroy the card immediately. It only gets worse." The account was deleted. The user never posted again. I knew I had to do something drastic. If I couldn't destroy the card, maybe I could trap it again. I found a ritual online. It required the card, a circle of salt, and a phrase in Latin. At midnight, I set everything up in my garage. I placed the card in the center of the salt circle and began chanting. The temperature dropped, the lights flickered, and Duskterror materialized inside the circle. But this time, it wasn't smiling. "You dare try to imprison me again," it snarled. The salt circle held, barely. Duskterror slammed against the invisible barrier, claws scraping, teeth gnashing. I kept chanting louder, faster, and then the card started to glow, the same sickly purple light. Duskterror screamed, a sound so awful it made my ears ring, and it began to dissolve, pulled back into the card like smoke into a vacuum. Within seconds, it was gone. The card fell to the ground, lifeless. I didn't take any chances. I sealed it in a metal box, wrapped it in chains, and buried it in the woods miles from my house. I never went back. That was 15 years ago. I haven't seen Duskterror since, but sometimes late at night, I still feel it watching me. I'll catch a shadow out of the corner of my eye, hear a voice whispering my name, and every now and then, I'll find a Pokemon card lying somewhere it shouldn't be. On my desk, in my car, on my pillow. It's always the same card, Duskterror. So if you're a collector, if you ever find a card that doesn't belong, that feels wrong, don't use it. Don't even keep it, because some Pokemon aren't meant to be caught. They're meant to catch you. And if you're watching this and you've ever summoned something you couldn't send back, drop a comment. Let me know I'm not alone, because I have a feeling. Duskterror isn't the only one out there. See you soon, trainer.